Earlier this semester, we visited with Dr. Loren Gatch of the UCO Political Science Department. That was before the February 24 Russian invasion of Ukraine. At that time, Gatch hoped for a diplomatic solution to avoid armed conflict between the two nations. That all changed with the February invasion, and Gatch says we could be looking at a long and costly war with much loss of life.
We are in a very ominous situation, I believe, and the world and the very premise of international politics is in the process of changing. Perhaps it's already changed, and we're just our understanding is just catching up to that reality. But we right now, I believe that peace in Ukraine is probably very unlikely to be reached without there being substantial loss of life, civilian life, and substantial destruction of the Ukrainian cities and deaths amongst the Ukrainian population. I think that Russia, it's in fact Russia's inability to pull this off quickly. The Russian army has not acquitted itself very well, actually, even though it is militarily far superior to the Ukrainians. Russia has not proven itself to be a very sophisticated fighting force, and in some ways, in order to compensate for those inadequacies, it's resorting to even more indiscriminate violence and application of brute force. So their ability to, for example, target munitions on a very specific in a very specific way is much less than that of the American military. As a result, I think you're going to see many more examples of Russia's indiscriminate attacks upon civilians.
With the influx of assistance to Ukraine from other countries, Gatch believes the conflict could widen beyond Ukraine with ominous implications for NATO countries, including the United States.
Yes, the danger is there, especially insofar as many of Ukraine's neighbors are enthusiastically giving support to the Ukrainian regime and to the Ukrainian people via arms and other sorts of assistance. It simply increases the likelihood that in order to cut off those sources of support, that Russia would then launch attacks not just in Ukraine but against. Remember, the countries that border Ukraine are for the most part members of NATO, and if those countries that are helping Ukraine then become the target of Russia, that invariably widens the conflict and makes an American involvement, a military involvement, all the more likely to happen, which I think once we cross that line, we are in very, very dangerous territory.
From the UCO campus in Edmond, I'm Maury Blair.